Get down into the camera, it's fine. And then look down, go down your head. There you go. There you are.
There we go. Hello, I'm Vladimir from Stock Doctor.
Welcome to the Cherrywood Podcast with me, Rachel Burridge.
And me, Simon Burridge. Okay, go on then, Rach.
Right, so this is Vladimir. He is the Stock Doctor. Where did it all begin? Tell us a little bit about the company, what it does, how it formed, everything like that.
Sure. So my background is all kind of investment banking and investment platforms and such. So graduated from University of Dundee doing financial economics. Always wanted to go and do something kind of financial market related. But then it was quite a struggle actually get into the financial services industry. Didn't realize how competitive it's going to be.
Yeah.
So ended up working in a cafe actually for a year just to get into kind of the stocks and shares kind of business. Yeah, and the only way I got in was got a friend of mine coming in from my course with his team, and they said, "Oh, you're still working here?"
Yeah.
I said, "Yeah." So it's a struggle to find any kind of graduate jobs and stuff like that. It's like, "Oh, I know what."
Sorry to stop you, but this is why I introduce people, because you say Stock Doctor. What you meant to do is ask him how long it is before the sign falls off. Sorry, mate. How long do you reckon before that sign falls off of there?
We'll give it 20 minutes.
20 minutes, okay. We're going to go to our sponsors.
Sorry.
This is why I do it. This is why I do it and she doesn't do it. Gave her a chance. She's failed. So, yeah, we'll go to the sponsors, come back, and then we'll talk to Vlad. All right? Okay.
Today's sponsors are Medici Associates, Chartered Structural and Civil Engineers.
Based in the UK with a worldwide reach.
Visit their website on demediciassociates.com.
New Digital, helping businesses build their online presence with web design, SEO, Google Ads and social media. Get 10% off when you quote Cherrywood today. Visit their website at nudigitalera.co.uk.
And we're back. Right, Rachel. Sorry, Vladimir. Carry on.
Sure, yeah. So so they came in as a whole team for lunch in the cafe where I was working. And they said, well, you know what? One of my colleagues is actually leaving, so why don't you just pass on your CV over to me? I'll put it on my manager's desk. And because you've got exact same degrees as myself, it'll be easier for me to recommend you. And that's exactly what happened. So that was the only way I managed to get into the financial services industry.
Just a little bit by luck, really.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I had all the qualifications and all of that, but it was so hard to get your foot through the door. It was very, very hard. But then what I learned from that was actually kind of preparing for interviews. After that, I was literally nailing every interview. Once I kind of got a hold of like all the systems, I was really able to excel really quickly because I was really bad at exams. I was really good at doing stuff related. So once I was given the chance, I just kind of excelled from there. So the first year I was an investment analyst at Alliance for Savings. 11 months later, got promoted to senior data and pricing analyst role. I was leading a team of 4.
Wow.
Then my job started to kind of be between the 2 locations, Dundee and Edinburgh. I started to travel. The reason I started to travel to Edinburgh was that's where our traders were sitting.
Right.
So these were the people who would take orders worth of, I don't know, a couple thousand up to 10 million each. So, and I was actually the middle person. And my role essentially was to set up all the equities and bonds and funds on the investment platform. So this is where I got really excited about it. So Alliance for Savings allowed me to do one of the kind of qualifications as well. So the investment operations certificate with Chartered Institute for Securities and Investment. So from after the investment platform, because that's quite often is like the very first question beginners ask is like, which investment platform should I use? I get that a lot. And the next question is, how much do you think I should be putting aside every month? And that was a really great experience because actually I can tell people what are the actual mechanics within an investment platform how different teams kind of interact with each other as well. So that was fantastic experience. But what I really wanted to do was actually to understand how this individual company analysis works. And I started asking my colleagues around, and I said, do you invest yourself? My expectation was every single person working in finance would invest themselves. Yeah. And what I realized, it couldn't be further from the truth.
Wow, really? Because that was my next question. Have you invested? You know, because you have the background, you have all the details there in front of you.
That's exactly what I thought.
And you can go, I'm going to invest in that, but nothing.
No. So it was an investment platform. A lot of people were coming there just to work. And I was like, you've got the experience, you've got much more exposure than everyone else. Why wouldn't you not put your money at risk as such? And I said, no, you know what, I'm not risking my money. And those people that were investing were quite often investing in funds. So while I was working in an investment platform, I would say probably only 20% of the people were investing, and mostly passively.
Wow.
And then when I transitioned over to Baillie Gifford, that's one of the biggest fund managers in Edinburgh. So they are really well known because of their holding Tesla. So they were one of the biggest shareholders in Tesla after Elon Musk.
Right.
So they also now invest in SpaceX and stuff like that. So they've got quite a few billion assets under management. So it was a really cool experience. Really, really enjoyed it. A fantastic atmosphere in the company. Very friendly, very kind of learning driven. That's what I really enjoyed it. So at some point, actually my wife was also working with myself in Alliance Trust Savings, and she moved over to JP Morgan down in Bournemouth, and then joined me back in Baillie Gifford, because I told her, if you're looking to apply, that's a fantastic company. It's got such an amazing culture. So really enjoyed working there. But that's where I actually got the exposure to the individual company analysis. But the problem was that institutional investing is not exactly the same as when it comes to, we call it retail investing. So you're a private individual, you just maybe you've got a couple of hundred or maybe a couple of thousand to invest for yourself. And when it comes to institutions, the way they invest is like a percentage of the fund that goes towards a company. And that percentage could be 10 million up to 100 million just in one single stock. And I realized quickly, investing with tens, millions and hundreds of millions is not exactly the same as just investing a couple of hundred or a couple of thousand. So that's what I kind of was looking around for people who have done it already. And interestingly, the only person I could find on the internet was this guy called Umar Ashraf. So he was a Pakistani born in New York, and he became basically a self-taught trader. But what he was teaching was swing trading. So essentially trading over longer periods of time, not just like day trading, but actually swing trading means holding a position anywhere from 1 day up to like 3 weeks.
Oh, wow.
So it's slightly longer.
Yeah.
And then...
and having enough capital to...
get
the drops.
So that's the thing with different with FX, for example. When you're trading FX like on a retail level, what they do is they actually always leverage you. So basically, if you want to actually hold FX like stock, you need to buy it in lots, and actually that costs like 100 grand just to hold one lot. That's why quite a lot of people find that Forex is going to stop loss them quite quickly, and they're going to lose their money. And the reason for that is actually leverage. A lot of people don't understand it, but with stocks is you actually own the whole thing.
Yes.
So if it's going to go against you, you're still going to hold it. If it's going to go down to zero, you're actually still going to hold those shares in your portfolio.
It may not be worth anything, but then the value will go back up.
Right, okay.
Could you turn the fan off, Rach? It's affecting this, sorry.
Okay.
We're all going to have to be hot and sweaty. We'll be naked by the end of this. That's what you said you wanted to do, Vlad, wasn't it? To get Rachel naked?
That's the only reason why I came here.
Brilliant. So before we go into deep chat about Stock Doctor and that business, let's talk about your past. So you obviously, with a name like Vladimir, I don't think you were born in Scotland.
No, I never was. So originally from Tallinn, Estonia, actually. That's where I was born and raised. So reality, I was the experiment on my family.
Okay, well, test tube, baby.
not in that sense. So I do have an older brother, but like if you go back and think of the years when I was born in 1990, so I'm 34 now. My brother's 3 years older than me. Right. He was born in 1987, and it was just the time where one of the Baltic states, specifically Lithuania, was the first one to become independent. And that's where my parents decided, you know what, Alexander, that's the name of my brother, you're going to go to the Russian school, and Vladimir, you're going to go to an Estonian school because you're picking up the languages quite quickly.
What was the distance between both schools?
It was probably 30, 40 minutes.
Oh, right.
So it's actually both opposite ways and stuff like that. Yeah. So in reality, like, yes, my name is Vladimir, but like all my friends are Estonian.
Right.
Back at home. Yeah. I literally have like 1 or 2 friends that are Russian speaking, and apart from my family.
Okay. Wow. Cool. That's amazing. Right. Cool. So your wife, am I right in saying your wife is Russian?
Yes, my wife is Russian.
But you didn't meet her?
I actually met her on a holiday. So it was first year in uni in Dundee University.
Right.
And then I had to go back to Estonia to do my national military service.
Oh, right.
So that's compulsory.
Okay.
I had to do that for 11 months. So I was in the artillery battalion. Like firing all the kind of big howitzers and stuff like that.
How did you find that?
It was awesome from one side. It was an absolute waste of time from the other side.
Yeah.
Did you get...
See, because they're thinking about bringing that back into the UK.
Yeah, that's what...
Yeah.
So
we don't do politics too much, but they are thinking about that, aren't they?
I think the thing with military in general is there's a lot of organizational stuff that happens in the background, but a typical soldier doesn't see that. What he does, he just stays in the bunker or wherever he has to stay and waits for the command. For the order. And then actually what happens on higher levels, they do all the planning. So I was lucky enough to actually be in the tents with all the journalists because my position was one of the highest ones you can get in the Estonian army while you're serving your 11 months.
How do they divvy out the positions then?
So it's based on some of the exams that you do.
Right, okay.
So you get like physical tests, you get kind of some writing to do, understanding different kind of weapons, machinery and stuff like that. And based on that, you're kind of given like a grade, and then they then decide you whether you're going to be a officer or you're going to be a driver. So that's where kind of the division happens. And quite often the guys who would normally go into university end up going for the sergeant kind of course, and the guys that are more like college and that kind of end up being the drivers. Because there's a lot of driving needed to be done. So
you didn't fancy staying on and doing being in the military?
I think the most cool stuff that I found there was like the special ops.
Right, okay.
So we were offered kind of to become the special ops as well. And like we were kind of shown the guns that they have. It was absolutely not from this planet. Kid you not.
Really?
But they're kind of, the difference is they don't have the name badge. They're just like a number.
Wow.
So they get their like names and stuff deleted from all the records and stuff once you make that commitment.
Really?
You're there.
So you're not even allowed to talk about some of the weapons?
Well, yeah, there's secrecy documents that I've signed, so unfortunately
really? That's amazing.
They last for like around 60 years.
Really? Yeah. That's cool. Now, you wouldn't have thought that, would you, when you're just doing like military service?
Well, it's compulsory, right?
Yeah, but you wouldn't have thought they would have been given that sort of, that much information on... You'd have thought they'd just be given a gun and a knife and just go, let's say you use it properly. That's what I just think of military service as something like my dad did. Do you know what I mean? I think my dad just missed out on military service saying that. But you'd think, you just think they're just running around in fields showing you how to combat, I didn't think it would be that in-depth, the information.
It's actually quite in-depth. You'd be quite surprised,
Yeah.
And could you, if you wanted to, stay on?
Definitely, yeah. I think I had the prerequisites kind of to stay on, but I mean, in order to get into the special ops, you have to do like a 2-week exam,
right?
Which is absolutely insane. Messes with your brain, messes with your body, all that, and that's all they try to test you. Yeah, they're trying to break you exactly. And we've seen some videos as part of that kind of exam as well. absolutely horrendous.
I mean, I've heard stories from people in the military and stuff like that they used to put you in like bunkers, fill it up with water, and you had to hold your breath for so long and then try and get out. And it was a tube this big that you had to crawl up and stuff like that. And it's really tough. They do try and break
I remember
you.
from one of the videos that they showed, actually, they were so kind of sleep deprivated, and all I had to do all night was there was like a little duck from like the Kinder Surprise of thing that you turn it up and it would kind of do this.
Let's keep it going.
Yeah,
Oh
and
my
you'd
God.
have to do that for all the time you were supposed to sleep.
Oh
So-
my God.
That is
just listening to that breaks me.
Oh, I feel rough just thinking about that.
I might get him to do that tonight.
I've wound a few of them things up in my time, all my kids.
Oh my
that's,
God.
that's unbelievable. What was I going to say? So did your brother have to do the same thing? It's only a school thing,
No,
wasn't it?
so he actually skipped it because it was like some medical tests and he didn't pass.
Oh, right,
So
okay.
he was the only one in family who had to do that as well while I was here in Scotland studying for my university degree. So I decided kind of to do it between my first and the second year. And then that's exactly where met my wife.
So they allowed you to do that. University
Yeah,
sort of gave
they
you
did.
like a sabbatical almost or whatever.
Yeah.
they call
It was just like a year off from uni. Yeah, they were absolutely fine with that because I had all the documents to show them.
So how did you say no to the army then? How did you say, I don't want to do this anymore?
Well, just
You
give
don't.
you the option.
You just
There's
walk
no
away?
option.
Oh.
It's compulsory.
No,
afterwards.
after you sort of done your
Oh.
how like when are they fine with you doing it? Is it like, do you have to do a certain amount of time there, like 6 months, or is it a year, or
Yeah, so there's basically 2 or 3 times when they take you. The one main one in July, and if you're being taken in July, then you'd normally serve for 11 months and you'd be
Right.
free at start of June. And then the second intake, I think, is either end of October, start of November. Then you'd be serving 8 months only.
oh right,
But
okay.
then you're not really able to progress in terms of the ranks.
Right, okay.
So you've got a bit of limitations.
So when you're taken, you're literally taken away. You can't go back home. Is there a leave?
Well, there's
or-
basically like specific small little cards that allow you to go out from the zone.
Yeah.
And every week people were chosen who would go out.
All right.
There was only a certain number of those little cards.
Wow.
So is that based on how well you?
Yeah, it was all based on your marks, your performance, all that. Yeah.
Blimey. I didn't
then-
think we'd be getting into this sort of conversation.
So then after your 11 months was up, it was like, see you later, goodbye.
It was interesting time. Yeah, it was weird. Having spent so much time in a slightly different kind of world space. Once you're there, there's no one that could explain it. But once you're there, you'd understand it. And then once I was free, it's like, wow, you can do all the stuff that you were not able to do before.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
suppose.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think there's a bit of like gratitude to that as well. You can appreciate
life
things.
skills.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Do you think it's helped with what you're doing today, mindset wise?
I think so. I think it's probably have kind of set a bit of like boundaries and maybe some persistence in some way.
Okay. Yeah.
Sometimes when you hit some of the roadblocks and you're like, oh, like, I know, I can't do this. This has probably given me this kind of, no, you got to break through
Okay.
it.
Yeah. That's good.
This kind of attitude.
Yeah. So in a way, you've got them to thank sort of for that. Yeah. Oh, that's brilliant. Okay, so you've done that. That was a surprise, that one. And you came to Scotland when?
So I came back to Scotland.
Let's jump back before military service. So when did you come into Scotland? When did
So I came actually to Scotland. I think it was first time I visited Scotland was 19th of April, 2021.
Makes me laugh. I've never been to Scotland.
2011, sorry.
I've been all around the world. I've never been to Scotland. Right.
come
Okay.
and visit me.
2021 you came. So was it a family
Sorry,
decision?
2011.
It was your parents' decision or yours?
It was completely mine.
Oh, right.
It
Okay.
was
So your
completely
parents are
mine.
still home.
Yeah, they were completely against actually me coming over to Scotland because
Okay.
what they said was, we're not going to finance your trip.
Okay. That's
So
nice.
not going to finance your studies. The only thing that really attracted me back then was I had a choice between England and Scotland.
Right. Okay.
And
He chose wisely.
I chose wisely Scotland because there were no fees SAS would pay your fees.
Oh, of
As
course.
the
Yeah, because that
European
used to be
Union
like that. And
Yeah.
Yep.
It's no longer a thing, but yeah.
I think it was
used to
20
be.
years ago, roughly, that you started having to pay. Yeah, probably about 20 years ago. But it used to be free. English universities.
So in terms of like having debt and all that, I was like, no. Like I would rather not have debt. And then what I ended up doing was there were restrictions that you could work for 20 hours only as a student. So what I did was I found 2 jobs, was working 20 hours at one and 20 hours at the other. So I was working full time while I was in uni.
And one of them was a coffee shop, I imagine, yeah?
It was cocktail bars, coffee shops, kind of, the kind of bar work mostly.
Okay, so you know how to throw it around and do some...
Yeah, I can do that, yeah.
If we'd known, we'd have bought the old...
I was the president of the bartending society. at uni.
Here we go.
So you can make a mean cocktail then?
Quite a few, actually, yeah.
And that's good to be Scottish as well.
Which brings us...
There's one called Volcano. It's quite an interesting one. You basically do a shot. The last drop is like grenadine, which makes it like explode from all the layers. So it's quite cool.
Wicked. I have to get you back to do us a little lesson.
Cocktail lesson,
Yeah. Which brings us nicely onto it. He's bought us a gift, Rachel.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, I have. So this is actually a bit related in 2 ways.
Oh.
So it's a whiskey, a Tamnavalin from the Space side. It's double casks. So it's been matured in American oak, which is kind of normal bourbon cask, and then it's been seasoned, now we call it, in a sherry cask, so it's been a finish. So quite a very classic from Speyside, kind of that's the most highly rated region in Scotland. But the other reason why I kind of brought this was my last job was head of portfolio management, working for a company that sells ultra rare whiskies to billionaires around the world.
Nice.
So I hopefully know a little bit about whiskey, so hopefully...
that's really kind of you. Thank you.
That's amazing.
Enjoy.
That's really cool. Thank you. Tempted to try it. I am tempted, which is why there is a glass there. But I don't know.
Do you? Because I don't think I've ever had whiskey before.
Well, I've only ever had... Well, this is single malt, and I've never had single malt before.
I don't understand the malts.
I don't either, so he can explain it to me.
So what is a single malt? Essentially... single malt is there's 2 things. There's single malt and there's single cask.
Okay.
So these are kind of 2 things.
I'm still just as confused.
Single malt is it's all come from one distillery. What you call a blended whiskey, they would blend the whiskies from different distilleries together.
Okay.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, can I ask what like I know gin.
Oh, here we go. She's going to say something stupid. Get ready for this.
What is whiskey made out of then?
So really, it's
I don't know.
It's this the same thing. It's the grains that it's kind of made from. So you've got your kind of the main components, your water, very important component by the way, your yeast, and all your kind of grains that go into it as well. What the kind of grains? They're not just normal grains. Basically, what they do, they water them and they start sprouting.
Oh, yeah.
And exactly at that time, they malt them. So it's called like the malted barley.
Yep.
So the reason why they kind of allow them to kind of sprout is that's exactly the time when there's most sugars within the barley.
Okay.
And for the fermentation process, reacting with the yeast, you actually get kind of more alcohol and the process is going on.
Wow, I never knew that.
It's
So
wicked,
is this
isn't
what
it?
you would drink at home then if you had to
Do you
have...
drink a lot yourself?
So yeah, I do quite a bit, but not like in big quantities, more rather actually trying kind of new things. I've recently discovered a new kind of Scottish region for myself, the Campbelltown.
Right.
Probably the most kind of known whiskey from that region is Glen Scotia.
Right, okay.
I don't know why, but I've been just loving that region recently. So if you get hold of a bottle, then, you know.
So should we, if we do test this, are we meant to have it with ice or what would you...
Or if I don't open it, is it an investment?
This particular bottle is not an investment. Okay. So it's made for drinking.
It didn't like us that much, right?
We're not going to pass this down to the...
So in terms of investing, I believe there's a bit of like a golden triangle in terms of the most kind of highly rated brands in terms of investment. And it's a long-term investment.
Yeah.
So whiskey is not where you'd make a quick buck.
So I suppose it's value.
So
value is its age, is it?
Yeah,
just like wine, really. More.
It's and rarity as well is a very big thing.
Yeah.
So I would say your Macallan, your Dalmore, your Balvenie, probably Glendronach as well, is probably some of your kind of most high-end investments. So,
right. Okay. So rarity based on them. I'm going to use the wrong terms, but making a batch and then abandoning that batch quite quick. Something like, do you see what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Making a small batch of something on a certain date.
Yeah.
And then, and so you've only got a small quantity of that. So based on its rarity, yeah.
So yes, but I think there's a lot to do with the history of distilleries, and that's why they're all so different. Mm-hmm. They've got their own kind of histories behind them. Some of the kind of rare casks that I've seen, the reason why they're rare is maybe the distillery is actually closed completely. Yeah. And it's been maybe 50 years since it's been closed as well. Yeah. So, finding stuff like that would be absolutely phenomenal.
Brilliant. Oh, that's great. And you still dabble in this a little bit, don't you? Is that right?
Yeah.
Don't want to talk about any more of that? You don't have to if you don't want to. I don't know how dodgy it is.
I mean, whiskey world is very interesting. I mean, part of kind of my most recent kind of role as head of portfolio management was to kind of do one of the courses as well with. So it's like a SQA course that you do with Edinburgh Whisky Academy for single malts. So we had to do tasting. We had to do kind of all the history about it as well. I could say you could probably say I'm certified in that space now as well.
Cool. So you were selling whiskey for millionaires, billionaires.
My role was never selling. So my role was actually looking at the auctions, look at what the auctions do, and based on the auction results, and based on the collections people have, suggest kind of maybe fill the gaps within the collection with something valuable.
And you were saying to me earlier that most of the people that decided to buy the stuff that you were suggesting was for them to drink.
Really?
Yeah. So
and it wasn't cheap.
Yeah. Wow. So we had just recently. I'm still working actually for them 3 days a month as a contractor now. So I've recently seen like a photo within the chat where they opened up the Macallan Reach. Right. So that's. I think the cheapest you can buy is 220,000 for one bottle.
Oh my God.
So it's like one of the bottles that's got like arms around it, and I could see it on their table like opened up and they're like drinking it. And they were setting it. I said, "Oh yeah, Macallan 81 Reach was really good."
Oh my God, that's like a house. They're drinking like a house.
That's unbelievable.
If you had to have, if we do taste this, how is it best served?
Shall I open it? I did go to a whiskey place once in Amsterdam, and they were making me try different drops of water with it. Makes sense to you, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. So I think this particular whiskey, because it's high ABV, you need to actually try it. Probably not drink it with ice, but probably start adding water. So what happens with whiskey is actually, as soon as you start to dilute it, in terms of flavor, starts to open up.
Okay.
You'll see what I mean when you try it.
I can't even get it open. Oh, there it is.
So don't water it down with something like Coke or anything.
No, don't do that. Never do that to a single malt.
I don't know. I've never had whiskey.
Slap you around the face and walk out. Shall I do it?
If you want.
What am I pulling it?
Probably.
See how crap I am. Well, I do drink, but I don't drink much. So if alcohol was to be banned, I wouldn't batter an eyelid, to be honest with you. It wouldn't bother me that much. But I don't mind drinking.
Oh, I thought you were going to
It's not champagne, mate.
No, I thought you were going to drop it.
Right.
So what do you have to do? Because I know wines and stuff like that, it's all about the peaks, isn't it?
It smells like sherry more than anything. Yeah. Oh, I know.
Sherry finish.
Oh, mate, if it's going to be like sherry.
Well, that is a lot to drink.
Don't worry about that, mate.
He's on it. By the end of this, I don't drink whiskey. He's like,
by the end of this, I'm going to be naked and it's nothing to do with the heat.
It looks an amazing colour. Can you tell?
That is really nice.
Can you tell the difference between the colours? Can you tell if it's a really rubbish one or if it's a shitty one?
I'm surprised by that colour.
I'm not even asking you.
Oh, right, sorry.
So actually, the color for the kind of high-end investors got a very significant role.
Right. Okay.
A lot of the higher investors are always looking at kind of darker colors.
Okay.
This is actually quite light. We've got some that are pretty much like Coke,
Right.
as dark
okay.
as that.
Really?
Yeah, you probably would see some of them like the Fitton Cairn. I think one of the kind of brands. I think they've got in the duty free. They've got a 50-year-old one, and it's like absolutely looks like Coke.
Really?
Wow.
It's that dark. But we've got like it's 50. This one's 40. Yeah.
I knew you'd do that. I knew you'd do that, Rach.
Well, it's really
Yeah,
strong.
look, all three of us sharing the same blood. Yeah, get it down, your son. Get it down, yeah.
Oh, that's really because I
He
know
has that for breakfast in Scotland.
I know with them. Oh God.
She's got no husky.
I know with wines, you have to look at if you swill it round your glass, you have to look for the peaks and the in the
Alcohol
glass and
content.
stuff, don't you?
I think it's alcohol content, isn't it?
I want you to now
Right.
you've tasted that. I want you to now water it down.
Okay.
Have a smell first of this.
Here we go.
A proper good smell. You don't have to drink it now. We've had have a good smell.
Yeah.
And then what we'll do is we'll add
We're supposed to be here talking about your stocks.
Yeah,
but
sorry.
we'll get there eventually.
We'll get there.
That is so
So
rich.
now we're going to add a bit of water.
Okay.
And I want you to realise how this has like opened up that what I said
okay.
before. So if I can make this.
It's okay. Ooh. That does change it though.
Rachel is smelling the watered down vodka.
It gets a bit
Don't
more
take it
fruity.
Watered down whiskey, sorry. Vodka. Is the taste different as well?
Yeah, it's a lot smoother.
Is that right? Is she right with that?
It's not as harsh as it goes down.
Oh,
if that
yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah, that does,
It
change
smells
it.
fruity as well now.
It
Well, to
changed
me.
the it's not as in your face, is it? Oh, that's far better like that. I think
you
that's
go.
far better like that.
So
Yeah.
it's not with every whiskey. You have to actually try it.
Yeah.
Whether it's good with water or without.
That goes down
Yeah.
much easier than that.
Don't drink it all, but you can't try. So if I went to a bar and said, "Can I have whiskey and water?" they wouldn't laugh at me.
No, I
No,
don't
they
think
never.
would.
No,
Oh,
it's just
okay.
I went to a
right.
whiskey bar, like I say, and they were making you do different amounts of water with the tasting.
Just never order Fanta or Coke with it.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
Could I have a whiskey top, please? Whiskey
And-
shandy.
And you said no ice. Don't go with ice.
I mean, you could, but I would say start with water first.
Okay.
Because I imagine it would just be constantly changing its flavour as it melts.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that's
That's
amazing.
brilliant. Thank you so much for bringing that. We don't get many gifts, do we, Rach?
No.
But they're always our favourite people when they bring us a gift. Really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Right, but let's get on to Stock
Right,
Doctor
yes.
then. Now, how did that come about?
Yeah, so, I was talking about working in Bailey Gifford and taking this course from this guy. And once I started working for Bailey Gifford, what I realized was I couldn't actually follow what the guy was teaching, the guy from New York, because his, as I said, strategy was basically swing trading, meaning that you'd hold a stock for anywhere from 1 day to 3 weeks. And then once I started working for Bailey Gifford, I realized the internal policies was that you couldn't buy and sell the stock within a 60-day period.
Oh,
So
right.
that actually threw everything out of the window, and I had to find something myself, find something that works within those timeframes.
Right. Yes.
And that's exactly where the whole idea of Stock Doctor sparked, was because you've got a lot of people working within the industry that have access to buying stocks and shares or doing some other stuff professionally, don't have the time to sit in front of their computer looking and the stocks going up and down.
Exactly.
And that's exactly what, there's no one really teaching like this kind of, you can call it short-term investing, you can call it, so essentially one of the strategies that I've got invests anywhere from 2 months, and the reason was Bailey Gifford,
Yes,
and the
of course,
restrictions,
yeah.
up to 18 months. So that's typically when I realize my investments.
Right.
And these are normally your growth stocks, growth and momentum kind of stocks. That's kind of the strategy. So when there's basically the company's doing well on financial balance sheets and that, and there's actually other investors continuously buying that same stock as well. That's two big elements that you have to consider. And how do you find those kind of stocks? That's exactly what I teach.
Right.
That's where the kind of idea.
So it's basically a course, yeah?
Yeah. So there's no there wasn't anything like this in the market when you needed it. Yeah.
There still isn't. I've asked my kind of the people that help me with the SEO kind of stuff, the people that have been doing some videos for me. They said, oh yeah, maybe try and find someone who does kind of videos in the same format. And I said, well, try to find one. And there's no one.
There's nothing. So you can't really compete with anyone as such.
Well, at this point, maybe there will be some, but I think there's a bit of like it's difficult to get to that stage because now go back to my kind of experiences, investment platforms, individual companies.
It's all short-term stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, and then kind of looking at the funds. So I've got this unique place where I'm at, and then Whisky as well. This unique place where I've got all-round investment experience in terms of all the parts of it. And I think that's where it makes, and I also absolutely love teaching. So some people are like, well, they do investing for themselves, but they can't be bothered teaching it.
No, I understand.
And then you've got this question asked a lot, well, if he's successful, why is he doing the courses? You get that asked all the time. And the reason for that is actually, back in the days, I wanted to be a math teacher.
Okay.
So I've actually gone all the way, come back, and then started this.
So you invest yourself?
Yeah, all the time.
There you go then. So it doesn't matter, does it? Like you were saying before, when you experienced it before, there was hardly anyone investing that was showing you how to do it.
So it's essentially, courses is the active income. The investments are constant passive income.
Yeah.
So it's
brilliant.
And I suppose it's nice that people can actually see that you don't just teach it, you actually preach it.
Yeah, exactly. You've got to practice what you preach.
You don't
practice what you preach.
Yeah. So you actually do it, and you can say to people, this is what I've done, this is what I've learned, good or bad, and you can actually teach that as well.
So what we have is basically like a community. So people that have done the course, we have a Discord, and what I do is when I make an investment, I'm not basically, I can't give financial advice because I'm not regulated as an IFA. But what can people
don't mind
do?
Telling them.
Yeah. But I'm basically, my role is to teach the process, how to do it. And if I'm investing in something, I can just say, guys, I've just invested in that. If you want, exactly what the process is. You have to go through your own numbers, but I'll post it to kind of my community members as well.
Yeah. Okay.
So do you ever sort of, for someone, do you ever get sort of people that are real novices and have no idea what they're doing?
Yeah,
and you can teach
so
them from
it was
basics.
very interesting. Like, kind of the main client base that I've got is actually property investors.
Okay.
So I had someone on my course who's got more than 25 properties, and they've never dabbled into the stock market before.
Okay.
And they came back after the course and said to me, if they knew anything about the stock market, what they know today, they would never started their buy-to-let portfolio.
Really?
Because they've seen it actually worked within the space of they finished the course 4 or 5 months ago, and I've been constantly seeing dividends landing on their account every single month because they wanted to invest in specific stock that pays monthly dividend and is related to real estate. And we went through the processes and stuff like that, and he's invested now into that. And he's been, apart from getting the capital gains, which is like the increase in the stock's price, they've also been receiving dividends every single month as well. Actually, the cash landing on their account.
Nice.
So someone that's starting out, absolutely no knowledge at all of how to deal with stocks and shares. Do they need any sort of background in your mind before they come to you for
Maybe
sort of training?
I think this is what was on my mind when I was creating the courses was really being that helping hand and hold people's hands while they're going through this process. Because if you start looking at YouTube videos, and it's an absolute minefield, minefield.
Yeah, and
that's exactly when I started off. I was looking at all those videos, And what was confusing was you've got one guy saying one thing, you've got other guys saying exact opposite thing, and you're like, so what's the truth then? So my role actually within this is not tell you what to invest in, what not to invest to, but actually create a framework where things are not just grey, they're completely black and white.
Way past 20 minutes.
I was thinking what was it? Sorry. But it did smash good. It's
You did smash
broken.
well, you smashed it up, Carry on. Well, that was black and white as well, right?
So it's basically creating that framework. We know when we're at school, we're learning the alphabet, we're just learning the basic rules. And that's the exact thing about whether you're learning how to play piano or any other musical instrument or anything else. What you need basically is a bit of a set of rules how things are done.
That's what I was going to say. There's certain signs they've got to look for and things like that.
So that's my role, is basically explain what is the white, what is the black, and then things will start blur themselves together and they will be able to kind of make out things from it.
I personally wouldn't know where to start. So they're looking for certain signs before they invest, obviously, and they need to know where to look as well. I imagine they get all that information.
There's a lot there. I mean, you need an investment platform. You need stock screeners if you want to invest in a stock, or ETF screeners or fund screeners and so on. Then you need methods how to compare investments between one another. You need to understand what your risk tolerance is. You need to understand what your return expectation is as well. So there's all these things, and when people kind of start off, there's just so much in there. I was just recently speaking to one of the other property investors, and they said they've tried to dabble into all these stocks, and they came back all the way back into just investing in passive funds because that has worked for them. And I said to them, well, that's exactly why people like myself started creating courses. It's very difficult to really kickstart it yourself because the knowledge on the internet is just so vast. It's very conflicting.
That's the problem with the internet. Everything is conflicting. There's always 50% one side, 50% the other side of anything. It's a nightmare.
I believe, see if you were to learn from someone how to invest, there's a couple of things I would be looking into them. First of all, are they actually making money themselves?
Are they successful?
That's number one. Number two would be, do they resonate with you as a teacher? I think that was probably one of the most important things.
Everyone learns in different ways.
Exactly.
Know?
So I might not be kind of your style of a teacher, but then you'd find your own. But these are kind of the couple of criteria that I would look into. When I was kind of looking for my mentor, for me, it was so important to actually connect with them as a person.
Of course, yeah. Do you have an ideal type of student that you're like, that's the sort of person I'm looking for to?
Yeah, I think someone who's actually very keen.
Yeah,
I think the interest is the big driver. If you're there just to kind of to listen in and kind of not really start taking steps, it's probably not for you.
It's the quick buck mentality, isn't it?
Yeah. You need to be serious about it. You need to be also, apart from just learning the theory, that's what the Stock Doctor brand is about, is actually taking actions on what you've just learned.
Yes.
So it's very actionable in that sense.
And what do you think they should start with, that money-wise?
Money-wise, so I think anyone that's just starting off, and that's how I started myself, was you can start with your bank, you can start with an investment platform, open up a stocks and shares ISA if you haven't.
Okay.
And maybe start putting, 100 quid or 200 quid aside every month. So number one thing is creating that habit of investing. So, I mean, I know a lot of IFAs would talk about pensions, but quite often we don't talk about ISAs as often, in my opinion. So there's 4 different ISAs that, so ISA is an investment savings account or individual savings account.
So it's tax-free on a certain amount.
Yeah, so it's tax-free up to 20,000 per year. So if you've got a partner, that's already 40,000 per year. So that kind of really helps. So what we did with my wife in particular was that we started putting some money aside towards our mortgage. and the other side, we started investing in stocks and shares. And we had a 20-year mortgage, but after 3 years and 10 months, we paid it all off.
Wow.
And that was thanks to investments.
Wow, that's amazing.
It's amazing, isn't it?
So with the courses that you teach, are they group courses or one-to-one basis? Or because with the group courses, you could get someone, like we said, that is has no idea, and then you could get someone who is quite clued up. That's quite a difference that you have to sort of, it's a broad sort of teach it. You have to teach a broad amount of people, really. Do you do a lot of one-to-ones?
Is it face-to-face, Zoom, or anything?
So it's most of the courses that I have been doing is through Zoom. But what I've recently started doing is, you wouldn't just pay $5,500 for a course without actually maybe having to spoken to someone, having had a one-to-one. And I think this is where.
So is that what your courses? Is that the figure your courses start from? $5,500, right? Okay. Yeah,
it's for the 15-week course. With one-to-one mentorship as part of it as well every week. Are
you creating video? I'm not trying to get work, by the way. Are you creating videos that they can refer to and things like training videos or anything like that?
So what I do is always live. So that's kind of another trademark of Stock Doctor.
But it's nice to have something to go back to, isn't it? For them to go back to?
Yeah, once you kind of, if you're serious about it again, and you go on to any kind of Zoom you're absolutely free to take all the snips. To record it, to take snips from it and stuff like that. So, and you can refer back to it. The thing we do with our courses is a big part of it is practice. So, like with maths, with all the kind of formulas, you wouldn't never get good at it by actually practicing it.
That's right.
So, same thing with stocks. Doesn't really matter what kind of part. What kind of a subject it is. For me, it's all about practicing.
I see.
So how do they practice then? Because obviously you can't just say to them, right, okay, here's the stock market, go and practice, can you?
So what you can do...
Do you know what I mean? It's
I know for a fact, I've dabbled in gold a bit, buying and selling the gold, but I've no knowledge.
Well, this is
there were like free ones where you just got imaginary money. You can do it with imaginary money.
That's the sort of
so it's
thing.
called paper trading.
Right, okay.
This is called paper trading.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So, there are some platforms, and that's exactly what we do. So we place some paper trades within the course itself, and we see how our investments perform within that.
I bet it's gutted now if you've really made a decent investment and you realise there's nothing.
So the thing is, I've actually made real investments on the back of our the stocks that we've been researching to show people, this is what we're going through is real stuff. And then I post it on the chat as well and say, by the way, I made a couple of thousand investments.
Right, so they've paper traded something and you put an investment on.
Yeah.
Fair enough, isn't it? Okay. Yeah. It proves that,
Because this is going to be another weird question, but do you?
Of course it is. You're asking it.
No, what I'm trying to say is, do you have to sort of put something in there to almost trick them or sort of slip them up to make them aware of? It's never always going to be up. Sometimes there is a bit of a downfall. Do you have to sort of fake that sometimes to get them used to that? Because that is part of investing in stocks. There is, at some point, there is going to be a downfall.
And if I can add to your question, mate, like things like news, you're teaching them to watch the news and look at current affairs and things like that because it must affect it or not.
So to ask your questions, first of all, your part. When you're dabbling into it, of course, in terms of strategies in general in investing, what you have is never any single investment is going to materialize. The way you need to look at investing is over a sample of series of investments that any kind of professional investor would tell you that. So you're normally taking a sample of 20 to 30 investments and looking at them overall, whether they have performed or not. Now, in reality, each of your individual investments can always go up and down, but the strategy collectively, that's where the strategy comes in.
Okay, that's where I'm going wrong.
That's why we're not millionaires.
No, exactly. Right, so how would people find you? Basically, they go on Stock Doctor, or I don't know.
So they go to stockdoctor.co.uk. You can read all about me. I'm very transparent. Kind of that's the whole reason I wanted to start this brand is it's all based on transparency. Because I find there's a lot of people just teaching stuff without maybe having the knowledge, not worked in the financial services, just selling courses and stuff like that, not actually making money in the markets and so on.
Yeah, so are you on Instagram posting sort of updates and tips or anything like that?
I'm actually very low key on all the social media because I feel like a lot of the traders have created into you need to have a mansion, you need to have a Lamborghini, and you need to have a skinny model next to you, and that's you successful.
Yeah.
So I don't want any of that. And I want to be very different. I want to be authentic. I just want to be me. I want to not kind of just to be a person and someone people can actually very easily connect with.
So going back to Simon's question, so do you have to keep up? How do you keep up with market trends and stuff like that? Like, is it the news mainly, or does that affect? Obviously, it does affect stocks and shares.
It does affect. Now, depending on what kind of news it is.
Yeah.
So if we take it back to COVID times, I actually sold my whole portfolio when Italy went to the lockdown.
Oh, right. So quite early on then.
So quite early on. So, because I could actually see that, this is not just a virus.
Yeah.
I was in China. I spread all the way to Italy. It's going to go.
So you sold it all?
I sold it all. And then that's where I bought back in May. I wasn't buying at the lowest points, but I bought back in May. And this is where I was actually making one of my best investments as well. I was buying a oil and gas stock that doesn't exist anymore, but it was a ticker QEP, and it was basically a oil and gas stock that a lot of the hedge funds were buying. And in 7 months, I made 689% return.
Oh my God.
Blimey.
So
was you looking at, like you say, a lot of the hedge funds are buying it? Is that what you were looking at to think,
at the
actually,
time,
if they're buying it, I'm going to jump on it?
Yeah.
It was not just purely that.
No, of course.
It was more of a kind of a question to myself. Do you think that we are not going to be driving cars anytime soon? That was the question in my mind. And I said, no. Everyone's breaking the rules of COVID and traveling and stuff. There's no way. We've been trying to do it, but everyone's starting to break the rules because some people think that's unreasonable. Some people think it's too much on them and stuff like that.
People still had to get to work as well. People were still working, so they had to use. There was no public transport, really, wasn't there? The buses are very limited, and trains.
If we've been limited so much, and we still can't be controlled by the rules, we'll have to go that way. Yeah. So that was one of the reasonings.
So you waited for it to come right down, and then
yeah. I actually bought it right at the bottom.
Would you give it a year? Lockdown for about a year, because everyone was quite sensible the first year. When it got into the second year, we were like, "Oh, sod this,
we've done this."
Yeah. And it wasn't as good. The second summer wasn't as good.
Yeah. So everyone was like, "Right, we're gonna break the rules now."
Yeah. Well, it was weird because I went to Estonia right when we had straight after our first lockdown, and they didn't even have the first wave yet. And I went in there. All they had. The only sign of COVID was just the stickers on the floor, like stay 2 meters apart. That was it. That was the whole COVID after the first lockdown in Estonia, and we were all mental about it.
You're not allowed to go in this shop, and you have to, no one can go around in your bubble. God,
I wish I bought shares in Perspex, didn't you?
And what I did after that was I made that a phenomenal gain in the oil and gas, and what I realized. So as soon as I sold my oil and gas stock, I realized that Christmas is coming and the whole shipping industry was all over the shop, all the shipping containers. And that's when I invested in the shipping container business. And I made another 300% in another 6 months.
Did you invest in Zoom?
No, I didn't. Because I realized it was already too late.
You more than anyone would know how well they did. I imagine they did amazing, did they?
They did amazing, and then the came down as well. We'll see how NVIDIA does. NVIDIA is kind of the chip maker.
Of course.
AI,
I knew NVIDIA. Yeah,
so
I know
it's been making like absolutely.
They do like graphics cards more than anything, don't they?
Yeah. So they've just passed Apple by their market capitalization. So I think they're second biggest company in the world now.
Wow.
And anyone who, for example, invested in them I think a week ago, has already made 20% on top.
Yeah, I heard something on the internet, so it's bound to be true about Apple. If you had invested every time an Apple phone came out, if you had invested that amount of money for that phone in Apple shares, you'd have millions.
Wow.
Probably you would, yeah.
Have millions.
It's because what happens is as the stock market grows, what you will see with Nvidia happening in weeks' time, its stock is going to split. So they're going to have a 1 to 10 stock split. Right. What that means is when there used to be just one share, it's going to become 10. Mm-hmm. What's going to happen to the price is going to be exactly the same. It's going to split into 10 different small pieces. So one share of Nvidia at the moment costs, I think, $1,224. And then when it's going to split, it's going to be, for one share, it's going to be 122.4 for one share. But you only hold 1/10 of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Right.
But what it makes it easier for people just coming into the stock market is they can access it. They don't have to spend the whole 1,000 to buy Nvidia shares. They now can only spend 100.
I understand.
But from the company's point of view, nothing has really changed.
No.
So quite often what you have is a very attractive time where some institutions sometimes sell their stock exactly at that time because there's a rush of people, buyers coming in because now it's cheaper.
It's cheaper,
but they have the buck and they just log all their shares.
So this is quite a risky job to be in. Do you ever find that, like your risk management?
I think it's all in the preparation again and all in the research.
So what I find with people on my course is when they come to like week 6 or 7, it's like, oh wow, I'd never realized there's so much preparation to it. You have always so number one thing when you have decided for what stock you're going to go for, number one rule is set your stop loss. And the stop loss is always set based on your personal risk tolerance, how much you are willing to risk. But also, you need to be careful there because you need to allow for the stocks to go against you as well. That's the thing with stocks. You need to give them, we call it the breathing room to go against you. So normally my risk tolerance is 25% on every £1,000.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's how much so what it means is even if things go south, then the biggest amount I'm going to lose is only £250 on £1,000.
So my question is, with the app you use to buy and sell your stocks, can you set the stop loss automatically? Is that what you would do, or would you just keep an eye on it? Because you could go to bed 1 minute and it just plummets.
So the one I use, you can set an automatic stop loss.
Yeah.
I normally don't. So because I watch the stocks every day anyway, but the strategy that I teach doesn't require you to look at it. It's just I just have fun with it.
You watch the stocks so do you watch every one of your investments every day?
Just once a day.
Right. Okay.
Once a day.
Okay.
Just by the end of it, just saying, oh, how well it did. Anyway, if you're gonna ever invest into your first stock, what you'll find, you'll be looking on your phone every 10 minutes.
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah. And eventually the novelty will wear off.
Yeah, it will. It will. But it's because I just kind of love it. Like in general, I love stocks and love shares and just being in there, understanding. Even you were asking about the news and stuff like that. See, when you're just looking at them, the information would come to you through your phone anyway. Right. You don't need to subscribe to any kind of. You would see news it. You would see the kind of. And you'd never be the first one who would know about something happening. There'll already be some kind of effect on the price, kind of priced into the stock.
Years ago, and I can't remember because my memory's that bad, there was well done, mate.
Sorry.
There was an app that you could use to it's like stocks and shares on horse racing. Do you know what I'm talking about? While the race is actually going on. So the favourite would be, a certain value, but you can watch it. If it starts losing the race, you can sell it. You can sell the bet.
Yeah.
Do you see what I mean? You can buy and sell the bet while the race is going on.
Oh, okay.
And these guys would look to see, that horse looks really sweaty before the race. It may be the favourite, but it's sweaty, so that means it's going to not do as well as you think the favourite's going to do. So they would sort of back it, go against it, and. Yeah, so you can literally do stocks and shares on anything in a way.
Yeah, but this is where you need to have a close eye, and this is basically the Formula One of stocks and shares, what you're talking about.
Right.
And I mean, the most money you can do in stocks and shares is actually in stock options.
Right. Okay.
So essentially, a stock option is like a insurance contract, and you pay a premium essentially for it, but you don't pay the full. For example, Nvidia shares we were talking about, they were $1,224 per share. Now, if you were to buy an option on Nvidia, then that would only maybe cost you, I don't know, 50 or 100 quid.
Yeah.
Because it's only a
part
fraction
of a share.
of
Yeah.
But what's the good side of it is when Nvidia goes up by $1, your option's going to go roughly by 90 cents. So you get the benefit of the increase in the price almost equal to the share by not having to spend all that capital. So making 100% on stock is going to be much harder than doing 100% on the stock option.
Yeah. And that's more of a quick gain thing, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, that's basically considered the Formula One of kind of stock trading and scalping and stuff like that. I know quite a few people within my community who
that's the term, scalping. Yeah.
It's
but I used to be on that all the time, didn't I? Remember?
You drove me insane.
Yeah.
Literally, it was like.
And you could set bots up. So you could set bots. I think I used to bet on the second favourite to lose or something like that.
Yeah.
But it was just it was never quick enough. The bot was never quick enough, if that makes sense. So it would flick in and then, come out too quick.
That's what you have with a lot of the bots as well. It's, I mean, there are a lot of what you call bots in the stock market as well, but they're really there to create liquidity. So they would only buy. Basically, there's a lot of high frequency trading, we call it, happening. And high frequency trading is when there's a computer located very, very closely to the actual stock exchange servers, so that kind of the interaction is super quick, is like microseconds essentially. And they would know that your trade is coming in, and they would do a trade in between within microseconds.
Wow.
It's that's what I'm saying. That's Formula One.
Wow.
That's unreal.
That's amazing.
Because I remember setting stop losses for gold as well, but that still isn't quick enough sometimes, because you can have a news report come in, it plummets, it goes straight past your stop loss, and when you've turned it off, when it's automatically turned it off or bowed out, it's gone way past still. Yeah, it's crazy. It's hard.
Yeah, it's hard, but yeah, that's why I say we normally, I don't normally kind of place the stop losses on the investment platform itself. We call it the mental stop losses.
Right.
So you then come in yourself as a human being and you click the button when to sell. So you control it.
But your thing is a bit slower, isn't it?
It's way slower. Yeah. As I said, it's for the growth strategy, it's anywhere between 2 and 18 months to realize. And there's another strategy that I teach as well, which is income strategy, which is specifically invests in stocks that pay dividends. Right. And the question is, how do you invest in them? So most of those you can probably hold more, probably like your lifetime. Okay. So they're very, very long. But they're kind of, what their attractiveness is that they're constantly paying you dividend. And apart from just paying you dividend, they will be increasing that dividend as well. So if you were to, for example, hold McDonald's shares that pay, I don't know, 2 point something percent dividend per year, if you were to hold them maybe 10, 20 years, you'll be getting, for that money, you'll be already getting 10% because they have increased their dividend over the years on inflation, stuff like that. But also they've increased it as well.
Brilliant.
So we've heard some of your success stories. Have you ever had, what are the challenges then? Are there any challenges that you've ever faced and thought, how am I going to get over this, or how do I conquer this?
I would say I've never experienced like actual complete calmness when I'm actually placing a trade. Even to this day, it's going to work out, or it's not going to work out. It's going to work out, or it's not going to work out. But what you have is we call it a checklist. So, and I know some people have got very specific numbers in their check. I don't. So that's why the strategy that I teach, the growth strategy and the income, they're quite dynamic, meaning that depending on the industry, you can plug in different numbers, but it'll be industry and company specific as well. So in terms of kind of placing the trades, it's always where I struggle. But I'm coming back to that checklist, and they're like, what does the checklist say? What did you write down back when you were not in an emotional state? Now that you are, it's time to go back to that little list and go through each one of them. If it says yes, what does your check? If it says yes everywhere, just go and make the trade.
So have you ever mixed like whiskey drinking and stock trading? Have you ever had a few too many and gone, I tell you what, let's just do it for Dutch code?
I would probably do that within a poker table, but not with stocks and shares.
That's brilliant. It's been great having you on. So once again, tell everyone how they can find you.
Yeah, sure. So you can find me on stockdoctor.co.uk. And if you want to look at the courses that I do, you can read all about me under About Me kind of section of the website as well. And just if you want to kind of follow me in terms of any of the socials, you'll find them at the bottom as well.
And a whiskey thing, can we get hold of you regarding whiskey?
Sure. Just drop me an email through Stock Doctor. If you ever were looking to buy a whiskey bottle worth of 15 grand or more, just give me a shout.
We've got that since.
That's brilliant. Yeah, well, I'll get a couple of bottles. Brilliant. It's been great having you on.
Thank
you very much for coming all the way from Scotland to see us.
That's amazing.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Brilliant. This podcast has been brought to you by Snugdubs Camper Van Hire.
Roam the world, park anywhere.
That's snugdubs.co.uk. This podcast was brought to you today by Austin's Eatery on Station Road, Strood.
Try the Viking Challenge.